Hello everyone, and welcome to this month's makerpen challenge. This month's challenge is the wagon challenge. And if you want to learn how to build one, here's how. To get started building, what we're going to do, first open our watch, click backpack, and click use on our makerpen. Now that we have our makerpen, let's start building. Now that we have our makerpen, what we're going to want to do is go into palette and click on pipe. Go back to tools and make sure you turn on uniform shapes. This will make sure our wheel will stay rounded instead of being an ovular shape. I'm just going to scale this up. Click on manipulate and scale it down. Then what we're going to want to do is click clone. Clone the inner white plus. I'm going to scale this one up slightly. Click back on manipulate and scale this inwards so we can keep our wheel like this. Now we're going to color it. So we're going to do brown. And we're going to use the new material, worn wood. Color that. Change color. Charcoal for the outer rim. Clone the middle bit again. Scale it downwards. And try and match it with the thickness of our wheel. Doesn't matter if it's just a little bit off, because we're going to fix that later. Click on hemisphere, go back to tools, and just draw a singular one in the middle. Scale it up. However much you'd like. Palette, cube. Keep it smaller than the width of our pipe. And just send it all the way through. Now we have this little shape. What we're going to want to do is clone it. And rotate it. We're going to clone it again after selecting our one piece. Rotate again. If you turn on grid, you can scroll down until you see rotation snap. We're going to do 45 degrees. And now we have a wheel for our carriage / wagon. Just turn that on its side. So this will be this rough size of our wagon when we start to build it. But select one of the four, and we're going to clone over this middle bit. Scale it down slightly. I'm just going to go with a very thin but long one. We're going to go back into create in our palette. And we are actually going to start work on our carriage. Turn off uniform shapes, go to 0.05, and now we're going to actually start. So we're just going to go with a straight line like that, about maybe 3 cubes away from our wheel. And then we're going to use that as our basis. If you need to, you can add one in between to give it a central bar, and one up above and a cross that is slightly taller than the too wide of this one. And here's where worn wood comes in handy. If you click configure on one of the shapes that you have done while you were in the container, you can scale up and down the scale of the texture. So now we have something more like this. So now we have something more like this with our scale texture. We're going to select it, options, and eyedrop. We're going to use this all the way around our image. And this time, we're going to scale these down by 3. This will be the way to actually enter our carriage. Now, all the way across on 2. On each side, so we can actually make our wagon. Do the same thing you did here. Except this is the problem. Now it doesn't match up. This is where rotation will come in handy. You can do 1 degrees or 5 degrees of snap. We're going to do 5. I'm going to rotate it just slightly. If you need to, you can swap between 1 and 5 until they look even on both sides. Then you can move it up. And if you're worried about the unevenness of this for using one square, do not worry, you can use multiple squares if you need to. Now it may look a little odd with our texture clipping right here. As you can see, it's kind of flashing in and out. So what we're going to do is use manipulate by moving the shape backwards into itself just a little bit to stop that texture clipping. And we're going to clone flip this onto the other side. We're going to add a floor. Super simple floor. Nothing too crazy. And if you'd like to, you can even add a support beam here. And now we have the rough base for our wagon. If you'd like to, you can merge it if you just want it to be stationary, or you can make all the wheels separate so they turn when you animate it. Now we're going to get started on the accessories of our wagon. What you're going to want to do is turn on grid and just draw a simple line forward. Roughly about this size. We're going to rotate it ever so slightly and clone flip it on itself. So we get this kind of shape. Then we're going to add one in the middle. Kind of freeform it to the size of the 2 pieces that we have here. And if you'd like to, you can add some extra detail. I am just going to keep it like this. Use a pipe. I'm going to make a quick hinge. So we're just going to draw 3 across and a hemisphere on both sides. We're going to select all of our pieces and just rotate it until this meets the floor and that meets the top of our Now that you have your little piece in the front of the wagon where the horse would be attached to, we're going to add the little overhang on top. This is where it'll get a little bit more advanced, and you do not need to do this whatsoever, but this is completely optional. You're going to scroll until you see tubing, click on that, and click on uniform shapes. Then you're going to want to color it to be some sort of a cloth texture. Scale up and down the texture as you see fit. And you're going to want to scale up the actual tube. We're going to do 0.25, 0.1, and we'll do 6 faces. What you're going to want to do is start off by going straight up, going in, and kind of curving your wagon top. You can clone flip it on each side if you'd like, depending on the length of your wagon. And then you can clone flip it constantly, but we're going to kind of want to match the edges up like this on each side. Now just for a little bit more detail, what we're going to want to do is you can go with cubes. Just use a singular one. We're going to change the color to be, we'll do smoke. And we'll use painted wall. We can get a good shape by rounding it out at the top. Once you have this complete, you can scale it thicker or thinner, depending on what you'd like. I'm going to do a slight bit thicker. I'm going to clone it in between each piece. We're going to add an interior one. Slightly round it out just a little bit. I'm going to go back through, scale our tubing, and we'll recolor it after. We're just going to go up and kind of conform to this piece. Go back through, white, carpet, boom, and move it back. If you need to, just scale it down. You can add this on each side if you'd like, which is what I am going to do. And if it's just a little bit big on each side, feel free to edit the pivots, move them up so they're a little bit more hidden. And now we have our wagon. Now I hope this tutorial has helped you learn the basics on building your wagon. If you want to learn how to build, please go to recrum.com/creative for more info, or sign up for our class. If you want to submit your wagon for this makerpen challenge, Be sure to publish your invention with the hashtag Wagon2022. I'm Tonic, and stay creative. Goodbye.